Is God in your business as an entrepreneur? I want to share with you that if you are a believer, if you are a believer in God, then you cannot separate business and your faith, or you should not separate business and your faith. You shouldn't feel like you have to do that. And I want to talk about some principles that you can apply to your business to not only have more success and really step into fully what God has for you and his plans for you, but it's a way also to build something that can impact so many more people. Many, many years ago, my very first business started out of financial hardship. Many of you have probably heard the story if you've been following me for a long time. We were struggling financially. My 4-year-old son needed shoes. I sat down and cried because I didn't have the money to go and buy him shoes. And I prayed and prayed for a solution, for an answer. Now, this was 33 or 34 years ago, and we didn't have the technology and all of the things that we have today. I lived in the country outside of a very, very small town. The closest city with any opportunity was almost an hour away. We also had one vehicle at the time because we had made a move from California back to where we live now. And my husband gave back his company vehicle when we left and made that move to come back to the Midwest. And through all of that, I knew God was calling me to be a stay at home mom, but the math didn't work. We didn't have the money for me to be able to do that. But there also wasn't the opportunity for me to work or to be able to do much and put my, have somebody raise my kids. So through all of that, a lot of prayer, and God gave me an idea, and that's where my very first business started. Now, when I started that business, it was to help my family. There was a purpose for it. It was to make a difference in my family, make it easier for my family. But even through all of that, when we didn't have the money, or even when my business was getting started, one thing that I made sure that I did was tithe, and I gave my time. So I gave my time to the church, and I did things where I could to give back to God and for what he was doing in my life. Now, all of my businesses since then have been God guiding me to that business, showing me what my next step is. I remember when that very first business, the market had really changed, and it was, just so you know, it was a business where I made designer dolls. I crafted my own dolls and I shipped them all over the world. And that's a whole long story. You can probably see other videos that I've talked about this. But here was the thing, the market started changing. Things were starting to get imported into the United States. And so I could no longer make those dolls and run that business as inexpensive as people could buy things from the imports coming in. So I saw a shift in the market. I knew that I had to make a change. And it was through that my second business started in fitness. And then I built 2 health clubs, 2 weight loss centers, was able to coach and help thousands of people, impact thousands of people along the way. And so when I stepped into my business coaching, it was very natural because I built and sold those other 5 businesses. And I wanted to be able to help people in their business, not make the same mistakes I did, and learn from my mistakes and help them speed their success. And that's really how I got into business coaching. But here's the thing that I really want to share with you. God's vision was always bigger than mine. It's like he always knew what I needed to do, and he always gave me that intuition. And I would pray about things. I would listen to him. I would listen to his voice in my spirit, and it always guided my steps in the right direction. And when I would see myself get off course, I would have to come back and pray and just say, okay, Lord, what do you have for me here? What do you want me to do? And the one thing that I've learned is all of the pitfalls and everything that you go through in business is he's preparing you for something bigger. He's preparing you for more. And so you have to trust that. So I want to talk about when struggles come, when challenges come, when you are trying to figure things out, that resistance that comes, I really want to encourage you to handle that with prayer and handle that with trust. Because again, he can see what you cannot. I remember when my very first fitness business, it continued to grow. We continued to expand it. And when I envisioned what I wanted my health club to eventually look like, God's vision was so much bigger. Like that club was so much bigger, had so much more to offer than anything I had even been thinking about. But I remember, I want to tell this story. We I got to a place in my business, in my fitness business, where I had to either expand or it was starting to decline. Like what I was doing, I was exhausted. I wasn't making the money that I knew I could be making because I was trying to do too much on my own, but we also didn't have the space and the room to expand the business. And so what I did was I just really went to God in prayer, and we found a building. There are so many stories I could tell you about how God worked. Even timing, it was just unbelievable. But we found a building that I could expand into, but it was going to need build out. It was going to take tens of thousands of dollars to build it out and get construction in there. The building didn't even have bathrooms. It didn't, I mean, there were just a lot of things it was going to need to become a big health club. And I reached out to somebody at the bank to see if we could get a loan. And she said, well, put together a business plan. Now, I want you to remember, this was again, almost 30 years ago, 28 years ago. I couldn't just Google, how do you do a business plan? Like I had no idea how to do a business plan. And I remember feeling so stuck in that business because of that. And we had got a bid on what the construction was going to be, how much money I was going to need. And I just really was like, I don't know what to do from here. I'm stuck. I don't know how to do a business plan. And I just started praying about it. And I just said, I don't know, God, you're calling me to this. I know you're going to work it out. And I remember after I had kind of said, okay, I think going through the bank's not going to work. I'm going to have to figure something else out. I remember one morning I was going to my business and I stopped to get my mail. And in my mailbox, I'm not kidding you when I say this is so truthful. There was a credit card check. We had good credit and all of that. There was a credit card check in my mailbox at like a very low interest, like it was like 2% interest or something for 3 years. I believe it was like 3 years. And get this, it was the exact amount that I could write that check for the build out that we needed. I mean, I get goosebumps even when I talk about this now. It was so unbelievable to me. It was like I just knew where it came from. I was just like, it was almost humorous to me that God would just show himself in that way. And so I learned to just trust him. It didn't matter what was going on in my business. I learned to just always trust him. God, your plan is bigger than my plan. God, you know what I need. God, you've never let me down. You're going to be faithful. You're going to show up. And here's the other thing. I've always said, if I'm not supposed to do this anymore, shut the door. If this isn't the direction you want me to go, shut the door. And so trusting him in all of the decisions that you're making and going to him prayerfully when you make decisions in your business. Are you on the right track? Are you doing the right things? It can be so powerful. But the other piece of this is when God does bless you and when you are successful. I've been so blessed by God in my businesses and in my life. It's unbelievable when I look back to sitting down at my kitchen table crying about my son not having shoes, to the life and the financial security that we have built now, the ways that I'm able to give back financially that I'd never been able to, had never been able to do before. God has just blessed me beyond words. And I'm so grateful for that. And that's why I continue to trust him. I know what he's got for me. I know my purpose. I know when it's time for me to not do this anymore, God will shut the door. He will let me know this now is the time to do this. And just like I left a 13-year corporate career because I felt called to raise my kids, to be a stay-at-home mom and raise my kids, although that created this set of problems, but God provided. He's always provided. But through this all, I've never not given. I always give back. I always know that he is the great provider, that he is in charge of my business, that he's the real CEO. It's not me. I am just here and I have to be a good steward of what he gives me and what he blesses me with. Now, do I fail? Of course. Of course. There are times I take my eyes off of God and I say, okay, where is he in this? And it always shows me that I'm not aligned with him in some way when something just isn't working. It's not working. It's not working. And it's because, again, he's pruning me, right? And he's preparing me for bigger things. So I want to encourage you, if God is not in your business, put him in your business. If God is not in your decisions, put him in your decisions. However, I do want to say this because I see this a lot. People say, I'm going to pray about this, but then they don't take action. That is not what God calls us to do. If God is calling you to business, if he is calling you to be successful, to give back, to be a good steward, to build your wealth from entrepreneurship or in business, you've been called to something special. We have a responsibility to do the best that we can in that business. And it can't all be for us. Yes, he'll better your life. Yes, he'll bless you. Yes, he'll allow you in most cases to have more. But if you cannot take your eye off the ball, that really your business has to be for him, for his kingdom, for charity, for giving back to people, for humanity. At the bottom of all of that, the foundation of all of that is what can your business accomplish for you? So if you sit there and only pray, but you don't take action, you don't do what you need to do to grow your business to more success, to make more money, to be richer, then God's not can't use you fully. I believe that. You're not being used to your full potential. And so instead of being in fear, trust God that, go to him in prayer, but then take the actions that you feel like you need to do and step out of fear and put your trust in him. We have made I've made some huge, huge, huge decisions. Of course, with my husband being right alongside me, supporting me, but we've made some really scary decisions in business where we've put everything on the line. We've trusted God. And God has just never let us down. Now, did things always go exactly the way I thought they were going to go? Never. In fact, almost never, because God's plan was always better than mine. It was always bigger than mine. So when you align yourself with God, when you listen to him, when you read his word, when you put your trust and your faith in him in all aspects of your business, but you take actions, you move, you step out of fear. Fear is not from God, right? Fear is from the enemy. You know that, right? So when you feel that fear, you just go to God and say, I know this is going to be okay. You've put this in front of me. You've given me this blessing, this exposure to this, to be able to see something that I didn't know about, or I didn't know I needed to do, or whatever that is. And God, I'm going to trust you. If I step into this, I'm going to trust you. There are lessons in everything that we do, and everything that we do moves us closer to where God really wants us to be, and again, using us in the way that he can. So look, I want to just wrap this up by saying a few things here. Rely on his strength and trust. And even in setbacks, his plan is always better than yours. So have faith. Pray about it and have faith. The second thing is all the blessings that you get in your business are from God. So stay in an attitude of gratitude. It's not about you. Yes, I talk about building and selling multiple businesses, but at the core of that, I know none of that was about me. God always guided my steps and always even expanded my vision for where I wanted to go. The third thing is serve others through your business. When you serve others through your business, there are no limits as to what you can accomplish and what you can do for God and for the kingdom. And seek God's guidance in your business. Pray about things, but also operate your business on Christian principles. Be honest, have integrity, care about people, all of those things. And stay humble when God does bless you. And I have to tell you, when you see all the blessings and God allows you to rise, it you can get stuck in worldly things, and you have to look at that and say, okay, I'm not giving God the glory here. I'm taking the glory. And that's where you have to be careful. That being said, it doesn't mean you cannot say what you've accomplished. It does not mean that you can't put it out there that you've accomplished these things, because people won't know otherwise. So there's also a lot of people use the kind of the excuse of, I want to stay humble, is why I don't want to build my brand, why I don't want to build my influence, why I don't want to show people the stuff I'm doing. I think that is not the right attitude, because you can't further his kingdom if you're hiding in a vacuum. You cannot further his kingdom if you're hiding out. So you have to shift your mindset around that. But in all things, be humble and have humility. And it's remember, all good things come from God. All good things. And then finally, align your faith as an entrepreneur with your success. It will make all the difference in what God is able to do through you, to you, with you. So I hope you found this valuable. He's always in my business, always, but I don't often talk about it in this way, where I do a whole video around why you should do this if you have faith, if you're a believer in God. But I think I'm going to be doing more of this, because I know God has much bigger plans for me still than I have for myself. And I trust in that. And I know that he does for you as well. And so step into that next level, go bigger, go all in, be all in, and pray about things, and just align what you're doing with God. And he will not leave you nor forsake you. He will not fail you. All right. Have an amazing day. God bless you. Bye-bye.